Racing, rain tires, and restarts lead the way at Richmond. Hi, I'm Doug Rice, joined by Alexis Erickson and Brad Gilley as we break down all the nuances of the Toyota Owners 400, won by Denny Hamlin on a late race restart. Hamlin scoots away. Alexis captures win number 2 this year and win number 5 at Richmond.
Yeah, and I think the most interesting part is that it didn't look like he was going to make anything happen until that late race caution came out with 2 laps to go and pretty much erased everything for Martin Truex Jr., who had been the dominant favorite of the day and looked like he was going to scoot away with the win. But you never know what's going to happen at the late stages of these races. And Bubba Wallace got into Kyle Larson, sent him spinning, or sliding, I should say. Not necessarily a full spin was made. He was able to make a recovery, but it allowed Denny Hamlin and his amazingly fast pit crew this season to get him out ahead of Martin Truex Jr. We had a restart, which we will talk about more at length, I'm sure, later in this broadcast. And Denny Hamlin was able to hold on and get the win. So interesting when he got out of the car, though. There was a lot more. Denny Hamlin is such a polarizing character, but you expect, at least at your home track, that you don't get more boos than cheers. But it sounded like a little bit more boos for Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin early on in the season, Brad, we'll get into the whole restart drama here in a bit. Seems to be poised. I'm not even going to say it, but he could have a really good year.
Yeah, I would say so. 2 wins, locks himself into the playoffs. More importantly, if you go back and look at the last 3 weeks on the schedule for Denny Hamlin, they won Bristol. That was 5 extra playoffs bonus points. They actually stayed out, won a stage at Coda. They got 1 more playoffs point. Now they win at Richmond Raceway, and they get 5 more. 11 playoffs points right now for that team, and I think that's crucial because what they're doing now is just padding. We're only 7 races in, and they're now starting to pad what could advance them through round after round after round after round into the playoffs, and I think that's a big deal, and I think that is also a whole team effort, and that's where this team is really firing right now. They have it everywhere. They have speed in the race cars. They have a great driver, great decisions on the pit box, and as Alexis mentioned, the fastest crew hands down on pit road.
They've won 2 of the first 7 races, and we know if you want to make a deep run into the playoffs, you got to go in there with a truckload of playoff points in there. I know it's early, but they're poised right now to make a good run. Denny Hamlin pretty excited to get a win at his so-called home track.
Amazing. I mean, Easter Sunday here, I got my whole family here, and it's been a while since the kids have been in victory lane, so really happy to get a victory here and with so many family and friends around. It's just amazing.
And for the first time this year, we were talking about Joey Logano being near the front as he came home in second place.
Yeah, it felt good to run up front there and just didn't execute good enough to win the race. That was the frustrating part. Our car was capable of winning if we were up front. Just couldn't get to the lead. Gave up too many spots on pit road tonight. They've been good all year, just had an off night on pit road, and everything has to click the same time to win, and we had the car to do it today, but we didn't get on the other end.
Alexis, is that finish by Logano, is he an outlier, or is this a step in the right direction for a team that struggled this year?
I think the latter, certainly. I mean, a shot in the arm for that team, because not only did they finish well, but they raced well all race long. And I think that's a good distinction, because you can have flip-flopped. You can have a really good race but end up with a bad finish. You can have a really bad race and end up with a good finish. I think they finished where they raced all day, and that in itself is indicative of a team that is trending in the right direction.
All right, so Logano finally cracks a top 5 finish. Brad, is this a reason for Logano fans? We've talked about him seemingly for the last month and a half to maybe see a little glimmer of hope here.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there have been a lot of races where we didn't see any hope. And I don't want to sugarcoat it, but I also look at this one and say, hey, they weren't necessarily great in qualifying, but he quickly moved his way up through the field. And to Alexis' point, he finished where he should have. The runner-up is a big deal. I also feel that when this team gets the ball rolling, it's going to snowball. And I know it's just one finish, not a trend, but I do think this is a team that can take that one finish and start that snowball rolling down the hill and get bigger and bigger and bigger.
A little bit better for the Fords this week as they had 3 cars in the top 10. We talked about Joey Logano getting second. Brad Keselowski was 8th after being just awful at Circuit of the Americas. And Chris Buescher came home in 9th. And Ryan Blaney, the defending NASCAR Cup Series champion, nowhere to be found, Alexis. I mean, and I watched this through the eyes of the Fox broadcast, and they pointed it out. They just missed.
I mean, a race that, yes, they had a terrible night. Lost the lap, was never really able to recover. I mean, every time I looked, they were in the 30s, between 30th and 33rd, and just never could get back to what they needed. So clearly they didn't have a great car. Whatever strategy they were working with didn't work. A night that they would like to forget for sure. But, they have been strong at other times this year. So I think that this is probably an anomaly. I don't think this is something that we'll continue to see from that team. Obviously just have to wait and see, but I truly believe that, this isn't a foreshadowing of worse times to come, I don't think.
Ryan Blaney finished 19th, Brad. He's still 5th in points. Was this just a bad day at the office?
I think it's a bad day, but you know what? I think it also shows a big difference between the last 2 years and this year's. And by the way, 5th in points after losing 3 spots in the standings. He was the runner-up in points heading into this past week, and actually he was 3rd in points. He dropped 2 spots. But if you remember last year, obviously he was strong at Phoenix Raceway. He won the championship after finishing runner-up. He was strong at Martinsville Speedway. He won that race. He was strong at Richmond Raceway. And you go to this year, I don't feel like he was that strong at Phoenix. He obviously wasn't that strong at Richmond. The car is a little bit different, but what are they doing different? When you have a teammate that finishes runner-up like Joey Logano does, and you can't get your way out of 19th place, I think there is something to look at here that may be a little more deep